We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such.
Are you serious? Like, we at season 7, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. Yeah, season 7. Magic number. If you know, you know. I'm not gonna go in depth with that, but yeah, this will be a very positive season. I don't know why and what's making me say that, but everything's changed. I'm still, like I said, stuff is very fluctuating now. I found that the connection with things is to get people to talk, as well as me taking time to talk. So you'll notice it, especially when you hear the first few episodes of this season. But it's just about sitting down and just having good talk, good conversation. Pass the message. Y'all know they ain't going nowhere. If you know, you know. If you've been around for a while, you already know how we give it up. But just hang in there. The content's amazing. The moves are even more amazing. And just put yourself in the right headspace to get this information. So hope y'all enjoy. What's going on? Episode 391 of The Pass with your host BT. Fair warning, only because this is probably one of the first nights since I've been here that it's happened. You may hear some extra sound effects that I have not much control over being able to remove as far as background noise. I'll do what I can, of course. Y'all know how I do. But I wanted to make sure I give that professional, polite, open disclaimer before we go into this show. So, as you can see by the title, I was supposed to do day 1 and I was supposed to do day 2. But due to just busy circumstances and just how pretty much each night when I would get back, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do the podcast. And I would like get in the room and I was like, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. Because by the time I go to bed and then waking up, I was pretty much back at it and just kind of doing my usual. So it wasn't as I wasn't able to record in the available time frame that I would have preferred to record. But it doesn't mean that I can't go back and give cliff notes or experiences from what has happened or transpired over the last few days. So we're gonna chop it up and we're gonna make this a awesome and amazing show. So I'm gonna follow it as easy as 1, 2, 3. So we'll start with day 1. Day 1, in so many words, consisted of picking up passes and kind of just chilling. But the chilling had an asterisk on it strictly because there were different events kind of set up as like corporate or networking mixers to kind of get around, meet people, get to know folks. There were different companies who had like what I would call network mixers, but also opportunities for potential recruitment. And all in all, they were very connect heavy, but space minimal. And I'll go into that as I talk about a couple of them. Let me backtrack. I want to make sure I do this right. I'm going to be respectful in saying that events occurred via different brands or different companies. However, I am not going to say those specific names or companies because at the end of the day, a business and or a brand is going to do what they're going to do to generate the attention that is necessary. And that was evidently clear throughout the majority of most of the events and planning and processing and preparing that I personally witnessed. Now, again, I'm one person, so I'm not speaking for anyone else on what their experience was, how they kind of gathered what went down, but I'm just saying it on what I felt or how I was able to observe everything from my perspective. More than anything, there were a fair amount. So I'm making sure I want to go through this in the proper order because I was ready to jump into day 2. So let me slow down a little bit and talk about day 1. Day 1, like I said, we collected passes. We got armbands for kind of like double verification and kind of, seeing what the day consisted of that we could do things. Now, this is important because on day 1, the expo room itself was not open, which it happens. I mean, that's not like anything. I'm not saying that in a negative term. I'm just saying that in a preparatory term of what to come into it seeing or embracing. So that, it mainly put things in a position of if anything does happen or if any events go on, you'll meet with who you meet with, you enjoy your time with who you enjoy your time with, and you call it a day. A business had a mixer, went to that. Some stuff happened for the sake of the podcast and for the sake of just knowledge in room reading. I'm not going to go in depth with that other than just saying that some things don't need to be made larger than what they are. And I'm going to leave it at that. So fast forward, did a little bit of hanging out afterward, kind of wound it down. And then day 2 begins. Day 2 was where the plate starts to fill because there were a lot of events in the actual convention center. There were a lot of events outside of the convention center at different locations. There were various opportunities to meet and greet, to see, where you can potentially learn or connect with folks who are in what you're doing and or into what you're doing. Now, I'm giving all of this as kind of just the timeline of the days, but then I'm going to give my little personal 2 cents on some observations that I have had to sit with in my reflective state for the last 3 days. Now, the title again says Aftermath. We still have tomorrow, and depending on who's still around, we're still going to be doing some stuff for Sunday. So I don't want to make it as though this is going to be the last podcast about Afrotech. This is mainly the panelists / activities / bigger events that were or did happen during Afrotech. So day 2 hits. Day 2 had a large weight or a large attention, in my opinion, around AI. Now, as many of you have heard or may, if you may or may not know, AI is short for artificial intelligence. And AI has gained a set of legs that no one expected it to gain, but it also has placed conversations in front of people that many people were not privy to realizing that they were going to have these conversations one way or another, and another has come to the forefront more than one way. And I'll leave that to your imagination. But I say all of that to say that even outside of the activities and or events that did go down related to AI, there was a very good amount of information shared about AI. There were a fair amount of events that had pretty lengthy lines. There were quite a fair share of panelists and people who were involved as far as sharing their thoughts or their their ideas from different topics of, the topic of that hour or that segment. There was some lab-based activity. I have right now my Mozilla browser on my iPhone has close to 100 tabs open, a fair amount of them related to Afrotech. The bigger picture and the bigger discussion that has not been talked about is just the embracing of Black culture involving the event Afrotech itself. There were quite a few people at this event that are at this event as far as like just folks who are Black and folks who are in tech in different lanes and different avenues and different areas of tech. I say this and I always want to bring it home to this. If I didn't say this on the Day Zero podcast, I will say it on this episode. There's no one productive or perfect or flawless path of saying I'm going to get into tech doing insert thing here, because everyone has different things that they are efficient and great at to give them an understanding of where they can find their niche or where they can find their home and really, no pun intended, just knock it out of the park. And you learn that as time progresses in your career path and in your journey with tech. But yeah, days 1 and 2, solid vibes, solid connections, solid conversations. I was actually able to get a couple of people who had their space open to, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll add you, and I'm doing a podcast, and it's like, I can't speak for anyone else, but as someone who is a podcaster, I want to make sure I say this right. As someone who is a podcaster in the tech space, I really want to make use of the tech space properly, but I also want to listen to other podcasters in the tech space to not limit my scope in embracing the tech world. Plain and simple. Day 3 hit some big punchlines. The first punchline is, if you have or have not been following this journey, a few years ago, ironically the year before COVID, I went back to school, and I went to school and I don't regret how the conversation went, because it put me in such a fluid position. You may hear some ASMR, so give me a sec. Okay, wasn't as bad as I thought. It did put me in a position where my recruiter at the time, who was, working with the school, kind of saw that I was kind of geared towards one lane and one avenue, but presented the idea of, I think you should go to school and you should learn cybersecurity. And at the time I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll learn it. No big deal. Little did I know that even at that time, and even what I've experienced now, it's tickled my fancy a little bit more to really see what's to it with cybersecurity. I still value engineering. I still value my software engineering vibes, my engineering flow. And I know I need to give a much better effort to that, but I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. But there was a panel that talked about cybersecurity, and I was listening in heavy during that conversation. I'm going to say this at this point of the show, and I'm going to let it be what it be, and we'll continue with what we're talking about. Everyone should not be as sensitive as they put themselves out there to be. This is not anything subliminal. This is not anything extracurricular. This is just a general statement in the observations that I've been put in position to really listen to and pay attention to, and just actions of others, and also actions of myself. You can't take to heart how people may or may not interpret or understand what you're trying to say, what you're trying to do, how you're trying to approach something, whatever the case may be. And that can play a part in your quote unquote normalcy or day-to-day activities, and you wouldn't even realize it. Day three was the vibe, because between getting the information about cybersecurity, between before that, going to like an engineering network mixer, meeting other engineers, didn't realize until after my friend was telling me that an engineer came and talked to us, and she worked for Spotify. And I was like, it is an interesting, and I'm going to talk about this in this episode, because I like to have this conversation. So this is going to be a little bit of a tech talk. If it may or may not interest you, that's fine. I ain't mad. I'm not even going to trip. But I personally believe that it has potential to be a disservice to you if you don't have your love or hate relationship about Spotify, Apple Music. Because a lot of people are very loyal and very consistent in using Apple Music, and I have no argument about that whatsoever. But there's also things that Apple Music lacks that Spotify gets right. Spotify's genius. I think Spotify revamped the genius tool that Apple Music was making a thing at one time that you really don't hear about anymore. I think Spotify is missing live radio or live streaming music. Now, granted, they give you the option where if you play a song, it will start to play songs similar, and you just kind of go through. I see that they're doing the AI feature with DJing, and I've messed around with that. That's been pretty fun, not gonna lie to you. But I will say, and I always like to have this conversation, when you observe and notice the mixing and the melting of like different playlists that are pre-packaged on both Apple and Spotify, it runs very different in unique facets, and I'll just put it in that realm and let you all kind of run with that. But all of that being said, man, I personally have been a sponge to quite a fair share of information. Like I said, doing a networking event, the engineering event was a vibe. We were there for like a brief stint, and in the process, it was, Issa Rae is getting ready to speak. Let's get to that event. So I got there, and I don't regret sitting in on that event, because I was going into it with tabloid pop culture, thought it was going to be dramatic, theatric, all this other stuff. But in reality, it actually turned out being the exact opposite. It was more of a just girl talk, but some guys happened to all be there, and we just, everyone was there to just enjoy the information being shared, and that's literally what happened. Give me one sec. All right, so let me unpack a little bit with Issa Rae. I knew and or know not a lot about Issa Rae as a whole. And it isn't that I haven't been keeping track of Issa Rae. It's just I am a person who is very non-versed in the TV world or the entertainment world about a lot of things. And it's not on some like, I don't care and I'm not interested. It's just it hasn't directly been put in a position to hit or reach my radar, which in life that happens. So it's nothing to sit and sulk about, but it's something to be aware of in the event of you experiencing that down the road type of ordeal. I say that, or I give that introduction or statement because I personally valued what I learned about some of the things that she started, or things that she is starting, or has kind of tapped into. So it made the conversation that much more enjoyable. So I rolled with that. Got to definitely check in. There was a lot of people there, like, and it wasn't predominantly male. It wasn't predominantly female. We know it was for the women's summit, but there were quite a few men there to take in any bit of information she was providing. And you got to work. You got to show up. You got to be willing. And it's so crazy because you hear these lines or these phrases consistently, but when you realize, like, it comes down to you and it comes down to your effort, it shows in these type of settings and or sittings, and this makes no exception to that rule or to that option. So from there, our group did we did our Afro, for quite a while we were trying to get a picture at the Afro Tech sign, and we eventually did get that picture. That was good. It was funny because the group in front of us, they had different flags like Haiti, Jamaica, different, black flags that we, don't think of or don't consider. And it was just dope to see them kind of get into their zen and like, hey, we all gonna take a picture together and be like, hey, my Afro Tag, and just them being themselves, man. It was such a great feeling and a great experience by far. So leave from there, and everybody was kind of picking and choosing as to what they were gonna do or what the plan was. And fast forward, one of the ladies, her and I, she was like, hey, I'm gonna get something to eat. If anybody wants to roll, I may just roll solo, but get something and kind of maybe sit at the bar and just hang out. I was like, you know what? I need to eat. I've been kind of like sporadic and not the best when it comes to consuming food while on this trip. But I think because I've been so just in the moment of enjoying the environment that I really have not been like, oh my God, I'm starving to death. So we sat down and ate, chopped up, had some conversation. I have realized how important it is when people are talking to really just sponge the information, but sponge it with the intent of utilizing it, not just holding it and then not actually putting it like releasing the water or releasing the information from the sponge and doing something with the information. I'm learning that how valuable that is now, and I personally do not take that for granted. So I went, we went there, we sat down, ate, had a good politics session. I'm gonna get into that story. I'll say that on an offline non podcast. That might be an exclusive content dialogue if I happen to think about it. But from there, like, I went back to I came back to the room, kind of relaxed a little bit, and I was like, you know what? Let me make sure I got like a good amount of energy because we're getting ready to go to this, go over here and dance it out. And I, for whatever reason, did not think about the fact that my shirt was going to battle with the area and like sweating and just dancing and having a ball. So my shirt, I'm not wearing it now, but my shirt looked like it had these little curves because it was like, yeah, I'm sweating here and I'm sweating here and it's sweat here. And then someone was like, all right, this was not the best shirt to wear, but it happens. It's nothing to like make a big scene about. All in all, had a ball, had a good time, didn't really care, was kind of in my own world, like it's one of those things. And I think the biggest takeaway from the event, because it was, it was an event that was paid for. And what I was looking at was there were a lot of people at this event. Like it was, they had a DJ, they had like 3 artists go up and do like different songs. It was like 3 different DJs doing different sets, kind of like jamming out, having a good time. And, you got a lot of people in there that's just standing there. And it's like, what's the benefit of being on the dance floor to just stand there? Now, let me be clear. Did I take a lot of photos or do a lot of videos while I was on the dance floor? Absolutely. But I also was getting videos of, oh, I didn't go to that area. How was it? What was the experience like? Well, because there was definitely plenty to absorb and plenty to learn and gather from attending, that jam session. So I think more than anything, my inner child was like, yes, we having a ball right now. We is turning up, and I turned up. But I wasn't. The thing that's funny was I wasn't drunk. I wasn't. I wasn't. I was in my right state of mind, and I was able to really be present and just embracing the fact that it was like a good vibe overall. Because it was like a lot of Africa, reggaeton, soca, like that type of music, and I'm just like, I am jamming. I love this. Like, sign me up. Let it play. Let it go. Like, the DJ was playing other mixes and other songs too, but in the midst of it, you was still getting like that true African feel, and that predominantly was and or is the ultimate goal at the end of the day. So I was able to truly embrace that with open arms and not feel bad about my personal experience regarding that. Where do I dance next with that? So I left there. Was initially gonna come back to the room, get myself a little situated, and then head back out. But instead, I was like, I had an impromptu emergency happen. Life be life, and it says the saying goes. And long story short, I ended up going to a quick bar, and kind of took like first I had stopped somewhere and got like a slice of pizza, threw down on that. And it was funny because this girl, like, she was in line. She was pretty cute. I'm gonna talk about that too. I want to make sure I remember to get into that. She was kind of like, oh, your pizza, you want to go get it, man. I'm about to take your slice and and I'm looking at her like, yeah, okay, I'm right here. We're not doing that. And then, if you want to use that as an opportunity to generate dialogue, I'm all for it. But then I also don't know who you with. I ain't trying to cause no tension. I'm just here and just like in my zone / in my zen. And yeah, I rolled with it. Like, I ate, I went off to the side, kind of chilled for a minute, got a slice, ate a slice, put threw the trash out, and then I went somewhere, found a bar, had a few drinks. The amount of drinks I had and the total it came up to, I was like, okay, I'm gonna accept this cheat code, thank you, and I am not gonna complain. And I did not. I was very appreciative. Even was able to get one on the house. Like, I was truly grateful. But I did that, wrapped it on up, had like a bottle of water. So every so often when you hear me like taking a sip, drinking from that cold bottle of water that I got from the bar. And I'm just like, all right, I got time, I got a moment. Let me go ahead and get my stuff squared away. As a non-Afro tech update, but a tech update, because I want to make sure I'm keeping y'all in the loop on what's what. Because some of you may or may not know, and some of you may or may not care, and that's fine too. I'm not judging, and it's not like, oh my God, you're not interested in what I have to share. It's not about me. It's just about sharing content. But I say all of that to say, my new iPhone is coming soon. It will likely arrive by the time I get back. Currently, I really don't think I've announced this on the show or in my recordings, but my Apple Watch has already been at the house for a while. I just never got around to setting it up because I was like, I don't want to set it up now, travel with it, use it, may not use it, unsure, don't want to go through all that rigmarole. Learning. So right now, this is tech related, but minutia for some of you. So if it is like not your thing, I get it. Right now, I have two 100-watt chargers, a dual 40-watt charger. Both of the 100-watt chargers are dual chargers. One of them actually is a dual charger and an old school USB-A charger. I have a big boy 200-watt power bank. I have a 200-watt 20,000 milliamp charger that I've been on the trip all this weekend, and I probably have used it the least, but I have it as a just in case, because you never know type of thing. I've been mostly carrying around my 10,000. My 10,000 has been clutch. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, if you out and about, and people always look at me weird when I do this. They'll be like, hey, I need a charge. I mean, like, do you have a cable? And I'm like, yeah. And when I give them the cable is like 1 meter or like a foot. It's a short cable. And they're like, oh, I need like a full cable. I'm like, okay. So you need to tell me that, because I understand people are going to give you your stuff back, but I give the cable that's like the annoying, frustrating cable, because I know how it works. So I was able to use one of my shorter cables. I've been keeping like a short cable with me at all times for my 10,000 charger that I got recently. And that charger has been clutch for this trip. I'm not going to lie. Because I've been out and I'm like, I'm down to 20% already. Like, what have I been doing? And I'm like, I've been using the phone. So what should I expect? So in using it, I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead and get a quick burn off of the power bank. The power bank might get down to around 50%, but I will end up on my phone at like 80%, if not 90%. So it works itself out, and I don't have any regrets about that. Gonna see how that all goes with the iPhone 15, but we'll see. But yeah, as far as like my wall chargers, I'm keeping a pretty good amount of wall chargers with me, and now with the new Apple Watch being added, so 2 parts. One, the Apple Watch will be added. I'm gonna run into some interesting dilemmas, but not dilemmas, because I'll need to make sure I keep I'm still gonna keep a USB-C to Lightning in my car, because you just never know. But I'm gonna obviously need to keep a stable, comfortable. I can be okay without this charger USB-C to C cable in the car. And that will be like kind of my working horse for the phone and all that stuff. I know that last 5-minute rant, and y'all did not need all that, but I was just thinking out loud. But I say all of that to say that my charging process with a lot of technology is about to, as it always does, transition. So even down to my iPad. It's funny, I've been on this trip all weekend, and I've probably used my iPad the least. I don't think I've actually even remotely opened I haven't taken it with me for anything, number one. And number two, I just haven't really been in like a digital space of like, oh, let me start putting some stuff down. And it was ironic because someone's video that I saw, I acquired a digital planner from them, and I started to use it, and it did work, and it was a beneficial resource. But even my own physical planner has been like societally, like socially neglected on every level. But I digress. So all of that being shared and all of that being mentioned, I'm gonna go into a little bit of a sidebar, but I'm also kind of reel it on home, because one, I'm tired, and two, I know y'all done heard me talk long enough, so we're gonna just chop this up and wrap it up. Day one, something happened. Things happen in life, we know that, but something happened. And what that something was that I was able to just sit, have lunch, have some conversations, talk about some things, think about some things, figure out what I'm trying to do. Because I was asked a simple question: what do I want to do in tech? And in many instances, it would be what you are in to excel in what you're doing to, become great at it. But my confidence didn't sit well on that option, which goes to what I talked about earlier as far as going back to school and learning cybersecurity and yada, yada, yada. So I think cybersecurity is calling me again. And I tried to block that option, but I think I need to give it more attention. I need to give it more TLC. I also need to give Brian more TLC. I can't speak for anyone else on their experiences with traveling and what they do like and they don't like and how bad things are and what they've been accustomed to. But someone personally who just needed like a few days to just enjoy his own company while still being around other people, but not feeling like I have to be up under them all the time, has been one of the best feelings in the world. And I've been able to really kind of take time to myself and enjoy my own company and not feel obligated. I briefly talked about it a few days ago, early within the podcast. I talked about this, but I'm bringing it up now, where an interaction was misinterpreted and, things went how they went. Some laundry got aired that did not need to be aired. But I'm saying I'm giving this story without giving the story because I don't want to give it any attention, obviously. But I want to say that I learned or have learned over time that I am my own vibe. I am my own company. Do I like to have company around? Do I like to do things with other people? Sure. But if it's just me, my world, my bubble, my figuring it out and seeing what's what, I will take that 20 times out of 10 and be fine. I got spun back to something that I experienced when I worked at Cap One that hits closer to where I'm at now, and that is to be confident in who I am, in knowing who I am, and being proud of who I am, and knowing that I have potential to change who I am if it's intended to be changed. And the one thing that's been crazy with these last 3 days, and it was even day 0, is I've done quite a fair share of walking. Most of the times when I do walking, I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm like, just can't do it. But now I will do like a good walk and I'm like, I didn't die. I feel good. Even to the point where I skipped a couple of days on taking some medication that I need to take, and I felt bad about missing those days. But on the flip side, I was like, but I feel okay. So it didn't have like quote unquote the effect as would be perceived or expected. It just was more so like, oh, well, I need to be sure that I'm staying on that. And I have, and it's been like today I was good. Like, just, I've gone through my little sweat phases here and there. I've realized, and I know I'm going to remember this next year. In coming back, if I attend, I want to be sure that I keep like a portable fan with me, because I know me and I get hot very easily. Like, I will be in an environment, I will tell you this now, I can get home right now and I had my fan turned off in my room while I was away, because I didn't want to leave that running that long and I'm not in there. But 2, and most importantly, I know when I get back in there, it's going to be a sauna, and I got to make sure that I like turn that back on, get my space back into its like circulation of sanity and all that stuff, and just figuring it out and start to really put some pieces into play. So that's what I have for that. I gotta make these dots connect, and it's not even up for debate anymore. I really, more than anything, I want to be sure that I'm giving more effort and more attention and more TLC to my current role and what I've been hired and put in a position of doing. Because when the going gets tough, if I go, I could go behind the go, and that does not go very well. And if you don't understand what that means, then go back and listen to the last couple seconds and hear where I'm going with that. It could put me in a position where my badge might not work and I can't log into Windows, both at the same time. And that can be a little disheartening. So, all of that being said, man, I really have been enjoying the conference, enjoying the team, getting to know people. Really, it's been like a double-edged sword of getting to know people, but more than anything, getting to know myself and how I am around people, because nothing nothing sucks more than having someone be around folks and they're not able to enjoy being around other people, because other people will notice that you aren't fond of being around them. But at no point have I like been like, oh, I'm gonna have a tantrum and I'm gonna go off to the side, have a mental meltdown or blow up or whatever. It's just been, I've chilled with the process, I've rolled with the punches, I've made things simple. I've been grateful for everything that I've embraced from being here. More than anything, I've been excited that things that I thought wouldn't have worked out was able to work out for me to get to being here. And I don't take that for granted whatsoever. Like, all of those things have been like winning formulas in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't go unnoticed, especially with what I've had to put into attending. And I'll just leave it at that. I've got some personal goals that I need to set. I'm in limbo about this, and I'm still trying to like see how I want to do it. Between one of the older iPhones, I want to get, and I'm sharing this on air, but whatever. I'm thinking of getting an older phone in the mini form and using that mini form just for work, and have that only be a work-based line, but still using my phone as a regular everyday phone. To separate things and to really put emphasis on the deep focus, on the putting work to motion. And that kind of ties into the message I want to pass along. When you're in that position where you know you're locked in and you know that you're working on what you need to work on, and it doesn't have to be with your job, it can be with life. Others don't know how to deal with that. And this kind of ties into a conversation I had. It ties into a conversation I had a couple of days ago. Actually today. It was actually today. And someone utilized an analogy that I gave, but they did it in a different light. And I don't take this for granted. There are some people in your life that are gonna be your roots. They're gonna be part of your foundation, and they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there through thick and thin, high road, low road. You got some that's gonna be those branches or twigs that every so often just fall off the tree, whereas the roots still holding strong. You got some folks that are leaves and rested. I don't know if that guy passed away or not, but the guy who was singing leaves falling off the trees. Leaves might fall off the trees and you may not have them around for as long as you would like to have them around. Many of my friends and many folks in my life went from VIP to the concession stand. Many folks went from the balcony to the front row. Many folks went from front row to VIP. Many people went from VIP to front row. Some people aren't even at the venue. Like, they ain't even got to the concession stand. They're not even at the ticket booth. They're literally seeing the billboard outside talking about what's about to happen and who's doing what. So their experience of me is way different than others. But I say all of that to say, like, value those people where they are, but also value you for where you are and put you in your position to like grow and evolve, and let the rest of it fall where it may. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you, I've really held up pretty good for this podcast. But a brother is tired. I'm gonna get all of the content prepped and queued. I'll be back Monday-ish, Tuesday. I'm thinking, fingers crossed, Wednesday or Thursday, I'll be back to my quote-unquote regularly scheduled program. And should be some great dialogue to get into and to make be what it be for what we're doing. But I really want people to just take time and just love on themselves. And I'm saying that to you all, but I'm really saying it to myself more than anything. So with that being said, I'm going to love on myself and love myself to sleep because I'm tired. Like top tier dog, done, burnt, cooked, tired. And we'll do this dance again soon. Y'all take care. BT signing out. Peace. Another episode is completed. Thank you all for listening. If you want to check out the podcast, you can go to buzzsprout.com. If you're looking to do podcasts, you can go to buzzsprout.com. To get to my podcast, you'll go to the pastbtpod.buzzsprout.com. If you're looking at getting a microphone, I always suggest getting the Blue Yeti X. That is the microphone that I use. If you're starting off and you need something more affordable, Samsung Meteor, it's a worthwhile investment. And there are other microphones that are going to be simple enough. My big suggestion I tell everyone whenever looking for a microphone, be sure that your microphone has the ability to have you listen to your audio or listen to yourself as you're talking. It will make a big difference in your editing and your podcast. Also, most importantly, and I tell people this is a tip offline, but I'm giving this in the final listen or the end of the show. Drink water while recording, and also just drink water in general. But drink water while you're recording, and the reason why, you'll be surprised. All right, see y'all on the next show.